Right, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans, literally all over this world. And there's nothing more like just on a Friday morning or evening or afternoon, and you're waiting for the Easytalk. And we've got Mad Max back in the house. We've got IG, the original, mafioso, and we've got Glenn, the original, improved Glenn. How's everyone?
Great. Thanks for having me again.
Cheers, Alex. Good.
Nice one.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. So yeah, like I said, this is Cannon Fodder. It's the Easytalk, the last segment of the week, and we've got quite a few topics we want to talk about. But make sure you are subscribed to Cannon Fodder TV so you can receive all the latest and greatest news right here on Cannon Fodder TV. I just love that intro. That intro. Yes. So FA Cup. There was a little bit of business in the FA Cup, and we played against Portsmouth. And now in the next round, the sixth round, we're going to be playing against Sheffield United. Max. Chris Wilder's done kind of great things with Sheffield United. When I saw the draw, Max, I thought, nah. Our FA Cup run is coming to an end. Thanks for the memories. What do you think about our chances against Chris Wilder's Sheffield United?
Well, anyone who's been sort of anywhere near my Twitter for the last 4 or 5 weeks would know that I'm less than impressed and have been less than impressed with Arsenal for longer than just the last couple of games, when everyone seems to have had a bit of a slide. So for me, I don't think it really matters whether we come up against Sheffield United or, Wolves or City or anyone at the moment. For me, I think that Arsenal's battle is against Arsenal at the moment, and the squad's battle against the squad. I mean, when we saw the draw against Olympiacos, did anyone's hearts drop and sink and think, oh no, we're not going to get past this team? So Sheffield United, another stepping stone for Arsenal to hopefully put on a decent cup run. We didn't play badly against them when we played them in the league. They scored a late goal to get over the top of us, and basically, Arsenal Football Club needs to stand up and be Arsenal Football Club and walk over whoever's in front of us. If you're going to put on a cup run, you've got to beat good teams. And let's face it, Sheffield are a middle of the table English team who are at the top of the table at the moment.
Yeah. Glenn, what's your thoughts about, facing Sheffield United in the next round?
Well, I was just like you when I saw the draw and I saw it was Sheffield. I was a bit concerned because the first 2 games we played them in the league were really tough. We managed a draw at our place, luckily, and at their place, if I'm not wrong, we struggled really badly. But again, I thought Arteta wasn't the manager then, and it's the FA Cup, so both teams will probably switch up the squads, and I think our second team is better than theirs, so I think it's a good draw. It's rather you play Sheffield than Man City away, so I'd have that anytime.
Wow, okay. IG, your thoughts on the 6th round versus Sheffield United? Chris Wilder.
I mean, look at us, once invincibles and now afraid of Sheffield United. Wow, the tables have turned, aren't they? But I think, to be fair enough, I think, first of all, I think we all know how things happened in that draw. And we know that we're going to face them twice now. I think once in the FA Cup and one would be the reverse fixture in the Premier League. So I think the thing is that they won't go easy on us. They won't think that we are giants, we are Arsenal now. They know that we have loopholes when set pieces are concerned. They know that we have loopholes in our defense. So I think the way I saw Pablo Mari play against Portsmouth, I think we have a chance. I really do. I can right now as an Arsenal fan, I can do 2 things: moan about how big of a club we are in Europe, how we are actually starting to make losses amongst being functioning as a proper club. But I think I can moan about it, or I can actually be positive about something, because I think we have still a chance of top 4, because I know that apart from Liverpool and Leicester City and Sheffield United, I don't think so any other team has performed to their full potential, let alone Arsenal. So I think if your top 4 the fourth position is so much open up. It's open with what Everton, Manchester United, Sheffield United, Wolves. Anyone can Tottenham. Anyone can get that. And even Chelsea are two. We all know what Chelsea. They also have their own problems. So I think everything is open about, and I think we need to be. We need to be worry about Sheffield, but no, I don't think so. We should lose hope.
Well, okay. Before I go to Rohan, you kind of open up a can of worms. IG, you still think top four is within reach? You still think it's within reach?
Well, according to probability, 33% chances yes.
Okay.
So I think I can cling on to that.
Okay. Quickly, Max, top four still within reach?
Fuck no. Absolutely not. Like I want to get up in the morning and put on whatever pants IG is putting on, because they are happy pants. Because I'm putting on pants in the morning that are like, I think that we're going to struggle for the rest of the season and continue to struggle for the rest of the season. Because I think if we weren't going to struggle, we would have seen it by now. We would have seen things happen by now. We're not seeing things happen. So, IG brings up, Pablo Mari. Pablo Mari isn't the saviour. And to be honest, centre-back hasn't even been our main fundamental key issue. A couple of mistakes against Olympiacos. But other than that, Luis and Mustafi have been performing to a generally acceptable level for a top six team in the Premiership. Not, where we find ourselves. But, give me some of those happy pills, IG. I need them.
You would have to OD that.
Rohan, welcome to the Easytalk, the Virgin.
Pleasure to be here.
We've just been talking about FA Cup action.
Yeah.
And when I saw the draw that we're going to be facing Sheffield United next in round 6, I thought, no, I don't think we're going to progress any further. What are your thoughts?
No, I see this as glass half full sort of a situation, right? Like there are 7 teams apart from us because we're in the quarterfinals, and out of those 7 teams, you would have the only 2 teams I would have faced rather than Sheffield United were Norwich and Newcastle. So given that probability itself, we've got a good draw. We've already exhausted our 2 games in the Premier League. We lost once and then we drew once. That one game was uninspiring, the first uninspiring game during Arteta's reign. But, it's a cup and anything can happen. And, we need to go there with hope. If we see player for player, Sheffield United is not better than us. It's on paper, they're not better than us. They are performing better than us because they seem to have more dedication, more desire, more vigor about them. But
everything that Arsenal does not have.
Everything that we are lacking. But
everything you would require for an FA Cup run.
No, exactly.
And it looks like we are good only on paper.
No, but we've gone up against Man City in the semi-finals a few years ago and beaten them, and we've gone up against Chelsea in the same season when Chelsea were the reigning champions and nobody gave us a shout. In fact, Mertesacker played that game and he played out of his skin. Holding had Costa in his pocket. So you can't forget that we've turned up and we've had upsets. These are upsets that we have created, and beating Sheffield United in no way will be an upset. And talking about that top 4 thing as well, the reason why I don't think, my head doesn't say that we're going to make it, but my heart says that we can do it. And that's not because we will play exceptionally well. It's because everybody between us and up until Chelsea is in the same boat. They know better than us. Chelsea had a run where they won 1 in 5. We've got 1 game in hand. That game in hand is against City. I do understand, but with that 1 game in hand that we'll play now, we'll be just 5 points behind them. Why can't we make it? We've seen worse odds than this earlier at qualifying.
Rohan, I think you're clasping at straws. The only thing I thought, well, maybe because when you're playing in a cup competition, things are the dynamics can be very, very different. But in the Premier League,
Exactly.
the positions in the Premier League does not lie. They currently stand in 8th position and we are in 10th position. Reason why? Because they are a better team than us.
Because there are 9 teams better than us.
They are better than
I'm with
us.
you, Alex. I
100% agree. But the season that we are having right now, we should be 20 points behind top 4 and not 5 points if we win our game in hand. That itself proves that the other teams are not doing exceptionally well. 5-point gap is not enough. Would you have said that the title challenge is over if there was just 5 points between them?
Rohan, woulda, coulda, shoulda does not win you anything. Okay, like I said, the Premier League positions, it does not lie. Chris Wilder has done a fantastic job there with Sheffield United. So,
of course,
I think it's a little bit disingenuous for you to say that we are not, that the Sheffield United are not better than us. They are better than us. They are better. They are better than us. In mentality,
they are better than us.
In passion, in every single sense of the word, that they are better than us. So, again, I'm very fearful that when we do play Sheffield United, for us, it's going to be lights out. Lights out.
I think it's that sort of mentality, Alex. That sort of mentality of the Arsenal squad thinking that they're a better squad than Olympiacos is, and the Arsenal squad thinking that they're a better squad than the Sheffields. It's that sort of mentality that's left us in the position where we are.
But Max, not only the squad, the fan base as well.
Yep.
We're building them up to be something that they are not.
Yeah, statistically, we have players nowhere near the top level. Like if you go through statistically the top players in the league this year, Arsenal have something silly like 2 players within the top 20 statistical players in the league. Like anyone who thinks that the squad's there, the squad is not there. It's overhaul time.
Absolutely,
Alex. Everyone, let's keep the reality of the field is something else, and on paper it is something else. If you just look purely on paper, would you say that Sheffield United has a better squad than
Football
us
isn't played on paper. Football's played on the pitch, and
Correct.
Football's played in points.
So we need
Therefore, Sheffield's squad is better than us.
Glenn,
would you guys be more confident if it was a home game?
We've been better under Arteta away than home, so I don't think that makes a difference right now.
I don't know.
Because for me, it's just a one-off game. Anything can happen. I mean, I'm confident for the FA Cup, but the top 4, I'd have to agree with Matt because the odds are really terrible. If you'd have been 6th by now and competing with 2 other teams, then I'd be confident. But the chances are very slim. We'd have to, out of the 11 games remaining, we'd have to win at least 9 and hope all the teams above us flop. I mean, Wolves, United, Chelsea, all of them, and not draw the 11 games, win 9 out of the 11. So if we win 9 out of the 11, then we get the top 4.
But I think it's unfair for us to ask favours of the top 4 teams to drop points. We got ourselves into that position. And it's only for us to get ourselves out of this position. But for us to ask the other teams to lose and draw games, as much as you could say the stats, IG, the probability, top 4 is out of reach for Arsenal.
Look, I think the thing we can say, I think we can comfortably put our hands up and say this, if Arsenal's desire or if this club's desire is to prove to the fan base and to prove the exact opposite of what we've seen so far across the season, then it is on them. The directive is on them to go out and put together what looks like is going to need to be a 7-game run. Everyone's playing each other. There's opportunities for drop points. I understand what people are saying. I understand that the opportunity is still there. But like Alex said, the requirement is for teams to drop points against each other above us. I mean, theoretically, if everyone goes through and everyone puts together a run, the position that Arsenal are in, it is impossible for Arsenal to do anything because they are behind in points. So statistically, whatever anyone wants to say, it requires other teams to lose large amounts of points and us to be able to take them over. And yes, it's only 5 points, but I just can't. I want to get up in the morning and I want to say, "Yep, it's on. It's all going to happen." I just can't see it happening.
What
Who
about
remembers
Mark?
that season? Who remembers that season when Andre Villas-Boas said that Arsenal were on a downward spiral? They were more than, I think they were like 9-10 points ahead of us, and we were nowhere in qualifying for it, and we pipped them at the end. And we had difficult run of fixtures in that season. We beat Man City with that Arteta goal. All of these things, they happen. And it's the hope that kills you. And we've seen plenty of glorious failures, and like I said, my head says that the team doesn't have the character to do it. But if I truly believe in that in my heart, then it'll be very difficult for me to get up early in the morning to switch on the TV to watch them again and again.
Max, I had a
Archie, did you
question.
want to say- Yeah, go on, Glenn. Sorry.
If we actually beat West Ham and go away to Man City and win, would it give you more confidence of finishing the top four?
Yeah. Look, wins are wins. Wins are definitely wins. Wins are 3 points, 6 points on the board. But like I said, Glenn, show me the money. Show me the money, Arsenal. Show me the points. Show me the fight. Show me the desire. Because, I said on my Twitter feed the other day, people talking about this run that Arteta's on. I thought that we were crap against Newcastle, and had they had strikers, we would have conceded. We should have thrown it away against Everton. Not only were we behind, but we gave them an opportunity. We gave Calvert-Lewin a 92nd minute opportunity that he puts an open header wide, exactly the same as we did against Olympiacos. And we were crap against Olympiacos in the first game as well. So, that puts us in every single game since we've come back from the winter break, which was supposedly the time that Arteta was meant to have the team together, get them on the training pitch. The issue is the excuses, they dissipate with every passing week for this club. And I think what we're left with now, I think the thing that's got everyone so caught up and so frustrated is the thing we're left with now is, right, and the question and the big thing that keeps coming back to is just the squad. 3 managers. The squad's crap. So where does the buck lie? Where does it fall short? And I think the really funny thing is in Premiership football, we're so fast to kind of point at managers. Like, managers get the first barrel, right? We sit there and we say we're going to change the manager. And this club is constantly coming back and back and back to squad-based issues, player-based issues. And it's not even technical or tactical-based player-based issues. It's mentality-based issues. It's an inability to go and get up against Olympiacos, an inability to go out and say, okay, we got the away goal. Let's go and put half an hour of football on with our top 11. Instead, we go out and we play piss-poor football at a slow pace when we're already wrecked, and the first 11's getting used way too much at the moment because Arteta clearly doesn't believe in the squad. And who does that fall on? For me, if Arsenal are a serious football club, the guy whose head needs to roll is Raul. You're the director of football. You're in charge of all football relations. You're in charge of bringing the players in. And we're littered and laden with average players who don't have the fight, don't have the desire to play for the club. And we're going making stupid signings like Cedric fucking Suarez. Get me a gun, please.
IG, did you want to chip in before we go on to the next segment?
Well, talking about our future games, we are yet to play Manchester City, Liverpool, Sheffield United, Wolves away. So if we get, I don't know, I'm hoping to get some points from those games, because if I do, that means I'm ruining the chances of the teams above us. So I think I'm not concerned if Chelsea lose. I'm not concerned if Manchester United win or lose. I don't care if Wolves are winning or not. I just want Arsenal to perform. I'm expecting Arsenal's success on the basis of Arsenal's performance and not other teams. And as I don't know what is Rohan's obsession with the past of Arsenal. Whatever examples he's giving is all about the past of Arsenal. You're talking about FA Cup when Rob Holding was in the pockets of Diego Costa. Diego Costa was in the pockets of Rob Holding, but I don't think so. Since his injury, Rob Holding has been Rob Holding himself. The same is for Hector Bellerin. And you know what will keep them on their toes? Competition on their position. Hector Bellerin does not have any competition, and no, Ainsley Maitland-Niles is not his competition on that right back position. So I think I would, Max, I think he's already lost it. You definitely need those happy fans. I think all of you. But
I think
you know,
this is the state we've been left in, though. IG. This is the state we've been left in, and this is what happens when a season gets into the last quarter and the grind is real. You know, and getting up early. You guys would understand in India. You know, for us, the game's not on at 7 a.m. You know, for us, we either have to drag ourselves out of bed at 7 o'clock at night. For us, we either have to drag ourselves out of bed at 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning to watch a game and sit there and be disappointed by Arsenal. I think the international fan in general, you know, that's why they get so grindy towards the end of the season. I'd love to get up and watch Arsenal at 7 o'clock in the evening, watch them lose, and then just go down to the pub. That would make me feel much better.
I actually understand you, because the FA Cup fixtures are 1:30 a.m. In India, and the same is for the Carabao Cup. You know, if we get a midweek, I think the Manchester City game, that would be at 1:30 a.m. for me in India as well. So it's really I can feel you.
Yep.
All right, guys, whoever's watching now, this is segment of the Easy Talk, the last segment of the week. I've got Mad Max, I've got the new improved Glenn, I've got IG, 1/3 of the mafia of Canon Fodder TV, and I've got Rohan, who's a newbie on Canon Fodder TV. Make sure you subscribe on all platforms. We are, just talking about FA Cup action, as well as top four. This top four still in reach? Personally, I think not. So we saw Pablo Mari play against Portsmouth. What is all the hype about, Rohan? What's all this hype about? Oh, he looked so comfortable on the ball. It was only Portsmouth.
Well, it was only Portsmouth who played like prime Liverpool in the first half and put us on the ropes, right? Like they were pressing like nobody's business. All their attacks down their left, our right, we were getting exposed. I wasn't impressed by the performance until after we scored our second goal, which is when we controlled the tempo of the game and we showed, what it is to be a Premier League team, and that they are, with no disrespect to them, a League One team. Given that, I think, but the reality is that you can only beat what's in front of you. And, there were a couple of situations which were tight. Pablo Mari handled it well. I'm not getting overhyped by him. I think that this right now is his audition, and everybody has audition. If nothing else, from now until the end of the season, it's everybody's audition to prove their claim on whether they belong in the team or not. And more than other people who are on defined and permanent contracts, it's important for Murray because he's not on a permanent contract. So, I'm happy with his performance from Portsmouth. I'd like him to start against West Ham, get like 60, 70 minutes, and then go in against City. And, we have to test him out. We have to know whether he's worth the money or not. And then we decide whether he's one of our, I think we'll have to take 5 centre backs at least into next season, and whether he's one of the 5.
Rohan, very quickly, what's your thoughts on Dani Ceballos?
Dani Ceballos, it is because he's just not played enough in the past few months, right? Like he started off so well. I remember the second game. Again, I'm going into the past. I'm obsessed. So but his second game was. I mean, he reminded me of Cesc Fabregas, right? Like the way he controlled that game against Burnley. It was only Burnley, right? But he controlled that game, and he was really good. Since then, I haven't seen those performances. They've been pretty abject. Since November, he didn't play. When Arteta came in, I wasn't sure why he was ousted. Then it turned out that he had fitness issues. He's come back into the team, and I think that he's done well in that midfield pivot sort of role. So, I think he's a quality player. I like him personally, for what he does for the team. But I'm not completely sold.
Okay, Glenn, Pablo Mari, what's all the hype?
I mean, I'd rather have a player who can perform against Portsmouth than perform. I mean, we have so many players who can't perform against that Portsmouth and that Olympiacos. You actually have a player who can perform. So and it doesn't really matter which team it is to give a pass. I mean, if you're good at giving passes, you'll give a pass against any team. It doesn't mean whether it's Portsmouth or Man City. So for me, I liked how he performed. As you said, he looked comfortable. He really did. We have defenders who haven't looked comfortable on the ball, regardless of which opponent you're playing. So I'm happy to see him playing in the next game against West Ham. I'll start him, and I'd still start him against Man City, depending on how he does against West Ham. And for Ceballos, for me, I think I still need to see more of him for these upcoming games. I think now he's going to get a few stats since Torreira is out. He's going to get a few stats. So I think let's see how it does. And then, but right now I'm leaning towards 60% signing him on a permanent deal. And what Mark said about Cedric, I still don't know why he signed Cedric. I mean, maybe he signed him because he thought he'd go far in the Europa League, so he'd have him as a squad player, but I do not know why he signed him. The season is almost over.
Yeah, good point. Good point. IG, what's all the hype about Mr. Pablo Mari?
Well, he brings the calmness in the defense, but I would really like to see more of it. I've just seen one game. Under 23, I actually saw all the touches. It was a compilation video. So I think whatever I saw, it was okay. And I think against Portsmouth, he did not have much to do. You know, obviously he's a very first of all, I think it is really great to see a tall centre back after Per Mertesacker. It was really, really nice. He was good in the air. His distribution was better. His passing was way better. I think it was decent enough, but I think I would like to see more of it to make an opinion of making it a permanent move for him. But I think it was good. I think the Portsmouth were not attacking enough. They weren't a prime Liverpool. They weren't even a prime Derby County actually. But to be fair, to judge a player by just one game, no. I can't even say anything about Dani Ceballos for now because I need to see more of him because Dani Ceballos started under Unai Emery and now we've got Arteta, so I need to see, and probably the usage of Dani Ceballos has been different under both the managers. So I think I'd like to see more of Pablo Mari.
Max, all the hype about Pablo Mari. What's going on, man?
Look, you can only, I guess, compete with what's in front of you, and the level to which he competed against Portsmouth was to a reasonable level. So, I mean, on that factor, well done, Pablo Mari. It's an excellent debut for him for Arsenal. I think there's two other elements to this. I don't think it's a question of whether he will or won't be signed. I know it is a loan, but he's already been replaced at his other club. I'm sure the loan was just part of a deal that got put together. So that, for me, is set. That's locked in. He will be an Arsenal player next season, regardless. I also don't think he's going to break into the first team unless you see Mustafi pull a full Mustafi, or unless you see a Louise, or Louise have a really bad dip in form or something like that. Louise and Mustafi over the last 4 or 5 games, handful of games, have been really good. Even against Olympiacos, they were solid when Mustafi went off with, what looked like cramp. In the end, I thought we were less compact and we looked less dominant, less likely to get balls out of the box once he went off. So I don't think, the hype train of saying, oh, Marie's had one great game, all of a sudden let's pull him in and let's get rid of Mustafi. I don't think that's the way that Arteta has proven himself to coach at this point. You've seen his desire to retain players in form, or his desire to retain players who he thinks is in positions. So I think it's all shit fodder for the Arsenal fan base because they're bored of the season and now they need to start coming up with new things to talk about. On Dani Ceballos, I almost feel like it's a waste of a loan for him because there's no cohesive midfield that Arsenal can put together of the pieces that they have. Like whether it's Xhaka, whether it's Torreira, whether it's Ceballos, whether it's Guendouzi, whether it's Ozil. I've said over and over again, I don't think you can build a cohesive midfield 3 because without some kind of box-to-box, power running, line-breaking midfield, you can't balance that midfield out. There's always issues. There's issues when Ceballos plays. He's got elements of his game that he doesn't have. There's issues with Xhaka. There's issues with Torreira. There's issues with Guendouzi. And it's a real shame because I think that Ceballos in a midfield that was balanced to allow it to highlight his attributes in the best possible way, I think we would have got a better idea of what Ceballos is. But instead, we've seen Ceballos come into a disjointed system, which doesn't make him look like the player he may have been. I think he'll go away at the end of the season. I don't think that we should part with 35 million pounds for him. And that's not because of him as a player. It's because I think Arsenal have so much groundwork to do. We have so much skeletal work to do as we rebuild this team and try and turn it into something that may be able to appropriate, a top 5, even just be a Europa League based winning team again, because I think we might have even fallen a bit below that.
Yeah, I get the feeling that Arsenal maybe were hoping that Willock was going to be the great hope, and it just hasn't materialised. He's just
As someone who doesn't like Ozil, doesn't love Ozil, I said on the Ars Bros, I think we did our confessions of an Arsenal fan last week. Manny was the priest, and I actually said in one of my confessions, the more I see Willock play, the more I understand Ozil's selection in this team. And it's not because Ozil's an amazing player. It's because Willock is really far off the level. The distance between Willock's best performance and his worst performance is vast. And that's not even talking about game to game. That's talking within games, within sectors of games. He'll get on the ball, have a touch, turn, run, and you go, yes, that's what we need. And then he'll have terrible touches, move into defense. He's a very strange player. He's a player who I think desperately needs a loan. And I would be very surprised if we don't see ESR, who has gone out on loan and done really well, having lumps kicked out of him by big boys. I'd be surprised if we didn't see him come back. Will it go out next season?
Yeah. Listen, let me just quickly go into the chat. There's just been a few comments that's just come through here. I've got Mube Guna, who actually says, for well within reach, agree with IG. Yeah, you guys are conspiring against me, aren't you, IG? Conspirators. And then he says, Alex turning into Mr. Negativity. Alex out. Positive only. Listen, I control the podcast here, IG. And Mube. We've got Stan, the man who comes and says, Mari's hype is the same hype that Dani Ceballos got after one game against Burnley. It could be. I know Stan's not the greatest supporter of Ceballos. I think he, like many of us, wants to see a lot more games featuring Ceballos. But I tend to agree with Max. I think that the combination in the midfield, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Whichever players, whether it's like you've got a 2 or 3 in the midfield, the combination, Rohan, it just doesn't work.
Which is why I said that it's an audition right now, right? Like that's what's happening in training, in games. Everything is right now an audition. I would say that there are only a few players in the team who deserve to go into next season and who deserve their spot there. Your Aubameyang, your Leno, people like that. I'm struggling to think of other people right now, but for everyone else, it's an audition, and considering that they have to show what they're about, or there should be a mass clear out. That's what is required. But one thing that I wanted to know, especially what Max mentioned about Murray playing this game, and then Mustafi or Luis, etc. So right now, in terms of Murray, Mustafi, Luis, Socrates, where do you put each one of them? How do you rank them? Do you put Mustafi above Murray, or
absolutely?
Top of the 5? Where is it?
Absolutely. Mustafi's been the best defender at the club since the winter break. There's no denying that, and we've looked bad. We looked bad when he came off. That's a big thing for me to say, because I have been someone who has been like, Mustafi is a cancer that needs to be cut out of the club. So does that mean that I think that Mustafi is a new man? Does it mean that I think we should offer him a new contract? No. I still think he's stained, and I still think he's another proprietor of the lack of personality or the lack of, what's the word I'm looking for, the lack of fight You know, he's still another one of those
Character.
guys. Yeah, he's still another one of those guys who lacks the character, I think, to be at a top level. But credit to him. Since Arteta's come in, Arteta has obviously filled him with some level of confidence that he didn't have under other managers. And don't forget, when Mustafi came into the club, his first couple of months in the club, he was superb. He looked like an amazing
22
signing when he came in. Yeah, looked like an amazing signing next to Koscielny when he came in. So, look, for me, the odd man out in this system is Socrates. And that's because of his inability to pass, inability to break lines. That's really heavily to do with the way that we have to protect Xhaka, the way that we have to play dual pivots. We need central defenders to be stepping up, breaking lines, passing through midfield to find Mesut Ozil in the hole. We've seen once those channels have been shut down, when Lampard shut those channels down for Chelsea, you know, once they start getting pressured. If you look at the goal, Aubameyang's goal against Everton, you know, that's created by Luiz stepping out of the line, going beyond the midfielder, causing confusion and playing the ball in behind. Those are the reasons why Mustafi was brought back into the team. Mustafi wasn't brought back into the team at the time because he was a good defender. He was brought into the team because Socrates was such a poor ball progressor and Arsenal was struggling so much to break the lines. Marie will come into that 3. I think Socrates is definitely the one who's on his way out stylistically. Heroic defender, but he's a big, stupid Greek man, and he's got Wellington boots for feet. So I think you're going to see Luiz and Mustafi still being your 1 and 2. Marie, I think, has in his short audition, as you say, shown that he can at least handle the pressure of an FA Cup tie. And like you said, an onslaught from Portsmouth of which you would expect from a League One team, because they are not going to be able to out-technical a football team from League One. But they can sure as shit come in and work harder than them. And they came in and blitzed them on hard work, emptied their tank, and then that's how Arsenal ran over them. It wasn't even so much the technicality, the cream rising to the top of the technicality. It's just you cannot press that hard. It is not possible to press that hard for 90 minutes. It's not possible to press that hard for 60 minutes or 70 minutes. And Portsmouth did their tank. That's how Arsenal got over the top of them. No other way. So Mustafi and Luiz are still going to be the 1 and 2. They haven't made major errors as yet. And I think Marie's going to come into that 3.
It's funny you said
And
that,
then
Max.
Saliba next season.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see next season. I'd be very surprised if we didn't cash in on our ability to have Mustafi have some dollar value now. The one who's going to be difficult to get out of the club is Socrates. At his age, on his wages and what we paid for him, I think we bought him in. He was on about 40,000 euros from Dortmund. We immediately upgraded him to 100,000.
But he actually came out this week and said literally that he wants to know what's going to happen with his future, because is he 31, 32?
Yeah.
And he said literally this week that if he's going to feature a lot more on the bench at Arsenal, he'd rather leave and go and find more regular time with another club. So I think you're right, Max. He could be the one nearest to the exit door.
Well, Luiz won't go. He was on a 2-year contract. He's on good money. You're not going to see him go. He'll retain himself. Like I said, my belief is that part of the loan deal for Marie was so that the Brazilian club could go and get their new player in. Their new player has already arrived and is already bedded in. Marie won't be going back there. So that's a set in stone for Arsenal. So Marie's going to be there. Rob Holding will most likely, for me, go out on loan. We're not going to see Callum Chambers, same injury as Rob Holding. We're not going to see Callum Chambers back for a year, and then I assume we're going to see the same physical shortfalls that we've seen in Rob Holding. So you wouldn't expect to see Callum Chambers part of it. You'd expect to see Rob Holding out. You'd expect to see Socrates out of the club. You would hope that now we would have an asset in Mustafi that we can maybe on sell for 20 million, 25 million. He's not old. He's a World Cup winner. He's just shown that he's a decent player for a little bit of time. Plus Marie, plus Saliba. What I would be very surprised though is I will actually be surprised if we bring in a centre-back of the standard that people think that we're going to bring in a centre-back. Uppermancanos and things like that. I'd be surprised if that happens. I've got a funny feeling we might run into next season with our 2 main guys, our 2 main men, or our 3 main men being Saliba, Mari, and Luiz. If Mari has a good finish to the season, I'm telling you, this board, they'll look at it and they'll say, that will do.
Absolutely. Back in the chat, we've got a comment here from Stan the Man who says, very sage advice from IG on Mari and Ceballos. And then Mube Gurina, finally someone calling out Willock. Ozil time is up, but we don't we don't give that replacement currently. I'm not sure what he means by that.
Don't have that replacement currently.
Oh, right, okay.
He'd do anything to save Ozil.
Even in the chat. Mube out. We kept the wing. We kept. I can't even see. Kept the right.
Wrong Willock. We kept the wrong Willock.
The wrong Willock. Yeah. Should have kept his brother. Could be. What else do we have? Mubaguna comes back and says Mustafi is one of our best defenders. I tell you all about our defenders. Yeah, bin all of them. That's when you're saying Mustafi is the best, then it's time. His time's up. And one more who says, I find it so difficult to have any emotional attachment to any players in this current squad. Well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't, because no player can be bigger than the club.
Yeah, it's a major issue, Alex. It's a major issue with the way people support. People don't support football clubs, or a lot of people don't support football clubs anymore. They support players in clubs, and you see it on Twitter, and you see it with the Ozil fanboys, the Mube Gunas of this world. You see it with them, right? Where they support the player, they love the player, and it's somehow separated from the club. I think it's something that we've seen across world football now. You have people who go and change club to follow a player because they love the player. Something very, very strange there.
Yeah. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about was actually about NKETIAH, the man waiting in the wings. He seems to have got into a little groove at this moment in time ahead of Lacazette. Glenn, what are your thoughts on Eddie NKETIAH?
I'll actually come back to that. I wanted to say that just shows you what all the guys have said. That just shows you how far we are. How many players can you actually say you're comfortable with where they're playing at and how they're playing? Yes, Saka is playing well. We're not comfortable with that position. The only player you can say you're comfortable by how he's playing and where he's playing is Pepe. Aubameyang is doing well, not the correct position. Ozil correct position, not doing well. Xhaka correct position, we're not happy with him. So you can say that about every single player in the team. Only Pepe is doing well right now, and we're okay with this position. So that shows you how much Arteta needs to do with the remaining games and in the summer, in the friendlies, to get the correct formation, to get the right midfield combination, to get the right defensive combination. So a lot to do in the team. For NKETIAH, I think NKETIAH is the same. For me, I think NKETIAH is the same as Willock. I mean, the guys like Saka and Martinelli, when they're playing, you actually feel you actually get a bit confident by seeing them play and do something. Saka can make
Glenn, we can't hear you. Your microphone, we can't hear you. Your mic is going in and out. We can't hear you clearly.
How about now?
Yeah.
I was saying for NKETIAH and Martinelli. Sorry, for Martinelli and Saka, you get confident when you see them on the pitch. But for Willock and NKETIAH, you never feel confidence when you see them play like it's gonna do something today. So I think both NKETIAH and Willock should go out on loan next season.
Wow. Okay. Rohan, what are your thoughts on Eddie NKETIAH? He seems to be so far taking the opportunities that he's been given to him.
NKETIAH has done well, and the fact that he has replaced Lacazette doesn't speak volumes about him, but speaks volumes about how Lacazette has been doing this season. NKETIAH, I think, he's a poacher, right? He's somewhere in between Lacazette and Aubameyang, because he doesn't have the hold-up play, but he has that presence of mind to be there, right position at the right time to score the goal, and I think he's done well. I don't have any complaints off of him. I feel that he's a young boy, and he shouldn't be overplayed. We shouldn't end ourselves up in a situation like Chelsea where they think that Tammy Abraham is the answer. NKETIAH is not the answer. He can be the answer. I don't think that he's. I'm not sure I completely agree with the Willock and NKETIAH comparison because NKETIAH has done pretty well consistently. But again, all of that is down to Lacazette not playing well, and Lacazette has such a big fan base, and everybody lauds him for his hard work and for tracking back, etc. But I'm just like, his main job is scoring goals, and he's just not done that. He's got 6 goals in the Premier League this season. He's played so many matches, and he's just not performed. In fact, yesterday I was on Arsenal fan circle, and there, one of the unpopular Arsenal opinions were that Giroud gets a lot of grief for that season, the Leicester season, in which he didn't perform. He didn't score for a particular period, and we lost the title. And that's why Arsenal fans are on his back. When he scored 16 goals that season, and Arsenal fans are not on Lacazette's back when he's just scored 6, and that's just because we're not in a title race this season.
Arsenal fans are well and truly on Lacazette's back. I think he's got pellets all over him from being shot down by every single person in the fan base. I mean, this guy was not a bargain basement. We didn't just go rifling through a French bargain basement bin somewhere going, oh, Le Bon Oui, we'll have this one, please, for £5. It's 54 fucking million pounds. Like, he was brought in to be a main guy. Before the Aubameyang signing, he was brought in to be an upgrade on Giroud. Right? And regardless of what you want to say about Giroud, I wasn't the biggest Giroud fan in the world. Right? But if you put Olivier Giroud into this current team with Pepe and Aubameyang outside of him, all of a sudden Giroud starts to make a whole lot more sense for this team. And that's why you're not seeing Aubameyang through the middle. When you fold it into Nketiah, right, is Nketiah getting the plaudits he's getting because he's a better striker than Lacazette? No, he's not. Is he getting the plaudits because he displaced and informed Lacazette? No. But in a system where Arteta needs a singular player to do a singular job and do what he's told, and told to run where he's meant to run, when he wants him to run, and press when he wants to press, how he wants him to press, Eddie Nketiah, because of his lack of ego and his desire to work hard, has pushed himself to the top of the pile. I find it interesting. People get so confused trying to compare players to players, trying to compare their attributes to each other. And who's the better player? Lacazette is the better player. He was our player of the season last year. Overnight, he did not all of a sudden become shit. But within these systems, within this squad, within the matrix that's been set around him, he hasn't achieved, or he hasn't applied himself. Even when he wasn't playing particularly well, I was giving him man of the matches when he wasn't scoring goals. Because in this system, yes, he does need to score goals when the opportunity is there, but his primary role isn't to score goals. The left side bias of Arsenal is still built around Aubameyang scoring 20 goals a year. His role was to sit there and push and engage the press and come deep and link the play. Those are the things where Lacazette fell down heavily. I think Lacazette threw his toys out the pram somewhere around that Standard Liège game when he got given the captain's armband and the team full of kids, and he went out and threw his toys out the pram and had his worst game of the season. That's when he went down in the Arsenal fans' books. He's been slated, pelleted, and I would say that most likely, given the opportunity, we'll quite happily take a £15 million loss to move him on next season, so that we can readjust the kind of mentality that this team has.
Max, very quickly. Okay, sorry, very quickly, Max. Would you also sell Aubameyang as well?
It's a really hard one. So I put a tweet up the other day doing the maths. So if we extend his contract, there's only one way that Aubameyang will stay, and that's because he's happy and because he is well fed. And by well fed, I'm starting to talk Ozil feed, right? I'm starting to talk, 350,000 pounds a week, right? Which is 46 million pounds over 3 years, right? So that's 46 million pounds of wages over 3 years. Now, if we sell Aubameyang in the summer, and let's say conservatively, he is worth 40 million pounds, right? I think that he should be worth more, and I think in a market he should be worth more. But you have to realize that Arsenal aren't in a power broking position. Arsenal aren't flying. Arsenal aren't losing their asset. They have an asset who may want to leave. He's coming into the last year of his contract and we can't offer him the football, which means it reduces the value to which people are going to be willing to pay for him. So let's conservatively call it £40 million. If we sell Aubameyang for £40 million, we're not even in the realms of where we can go and get most likely someone like Jimenez from Wolverhampton. Right? So can we replace Aubameyang's goals? Can we replace a 20-goal-a-year player with the £40 million? No. So the cost of us even being able to extend his contract is £86 million. So if Arsenal are going to invest £86 million in extending Aubameyang, giving him the Ozil money, it means that they also have to invest in the team around him to make sure that that's not wasted money. Because if the squad remains the same as it is now, you're going to be in the same position we're in currently, where you have a world-class goal scorer surrounded by people, a world-class goal scorer who goes down the end, scores a 90-minute winner and turns around and watches the team concede. Right? That's what he's left with at the moment. So it's a really, really sticky question. It's like, do you extend him, put him on the big money? Because if you do that, that is a pure investment of £86 million. That's £40 million on a sale that we don't get, £46 million on wages that we're going to have to pay him over the 3 years for a 31-year-old.
Yeah.
Anyone who's got the answer to that, I would love to hear it, because for me it's incredibly sticky. You will not replace his goals with the money that he generates.
But not only that, Max, I think as well, I think it's more to do with he wants to win trophies. And
no, that's if we could convince him to stay, Alex. Yeah. I don't think we can. I think it's a moot point. I think it's a completely moot point. I think he either... And then the other side of it, to people saying, oh, we'll keep him until the end of his contract and let him go on a Bossman. He's got to not throw his toys out the pram. He's got to still want to be engaged with the football club. How many players have we seen run down their contracts and still play to a really high level? Yes, if they're running down their contracts because they want to. Not if they're 31 and they're one of the top 5 strikers in the world and Real comes knocking. Real comes knocking at 31 for a kid from Gabon. Like, mate, he's going. So I don't think... What I'm trying to say is I don't think the ball's going to be in our court. And I think for us to get the ball anywhere near our court, the fiscal and the monetary reward for him is going to be so great that do we not just end up in another Ozil position where we have an unbalanced wage structure, one person earning a huge amount of money? I wonder if it's time as Arsenal Football Club that we look inside ourselves and we say, okay, it's time to rebuild the club from the ground up. We need to move these assets on. We need to readjust our wage bill. We need to lean on some of these youth kids if we're going to go and buy some fighting guys at Premiership and start to build the club in
can I come quickly on it, please?
Yeah, go, IG.
Max, you asked for an answer. I think the amount of money that you actually mentioned that within the span of 3 years, I think this is the same situation where Arsenal found themselves when it was about Sanchez and Ozil, and who should we keep, who should go. So I think we know where we ended up. I think since the management changed, I think the current situation, if we want to replace Aubameyang, the closest to that would be Timo Werner, or I think it could be Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan. But these two people are hot property. They would actually cost us 80 to 100. I mean, Lautaro Martinez has a 112 million, I think, release clause. And I don't think so. And these two guys are youngsters. So to get somebody who would definitely get in and get you 20 goals a season at this market is definitely going to be expensive. But if you have a product like Aubameyang who's going to work hard, if you have him, I think you should go leaps and bounds, to get him sign a new contract. And if you have to
he needs to want to IG. I think that's the thing I was saying to Alex. And then the other thing is, we talk about these replacements. Like Arsenal Football Club can just go get them. Like we're just going to go to Timo Werner and say, hey, would you like to come to a team that's most likely going to finish 8th, got dumped out of the Europa League by Olympiacos, that has a fan base that's up in arms, that has a board that hasn't delivered. We have to be an attractive, prospect for these guys to even have them be interested in coming. It's like people talking about Thomas Partey because he has a £32 million release clause and because we can afford it, that means he's going to come. The man is going to have other suitors, and those suitors are going to be able to offer him things that Arsenal Football Club can't offer him. So what we're leaning on now is the residual prestige, the leftover prestige of a once great football club. You know, it's a very sticky time. I would be very surprised. I said this on my first ever Cannon Fodder TV. I said to you, Alex, first ever time, we will be shopping around for diamonds in the rough out of the French league. Not because we can't afford to pay more money, but because that's where those guys still see Arsenal as a step up from where they're coming from. Forget about going and bringing young world-class kids from Inter Milans and bringing guys who are already playing Champions League football and going and putting them in Arsenal. I know there's a mentality for Arsenal fans to sit there and say, we're a great club. People still think we're a great club. I'm not so sure. They have to want to come, and we have to be able to come up with the money.
No, of course. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, that that we are not in our peak of our powers right now. That's a fact. You know, there's no disputing that. But I think there's obviously an economic consideration there, and you have to pay over the top. You have to add a premium for these players. You know, when we signed Aubameyang, nobody thought the 2 days before we signed Aubameyang, you would have asked any Arsenal fan, and they would have said that there's no chance we could ever sign Aubameyang. You know,
but there
and
was
we
more
did sign him.
residual goodwill. There was more residual goodwill at that point towards Arsenal than where we are now. At that point, we had only dropped down into the Europa League for 2 years. At that point, Arsene Wenger was still involved with the club. At that point, we still had players like Aaron Ramsey. We still had players like Koscielny. We had people who'd gone and played in World Cups. You know, I think that to underestimate how far Arsenal have fallen since the Unai Emery era would be dire. I think it's the mistake that Arsenal fans make constantly at the moment. You look in the mirror and you still see something that doesn't exist at the moment. Do not forget, we are currently in 8th. We have been dumped out of the Europa League in the round of 16.
We're in 10th.
Yep, sorry, we're in 10th. You know, regardless of whether we're, like Alex was saying at the start, regardless of whether we're 5 points off 5th or not, there are 9 teams better than us in the Premiership right now. Then you talk about paying overs. Only a week after our financials have been released, and we're a club who have lost money in the last year. And we're a club now, Mikel Arteta's had to come out to the press and say, oh, should Arsenal not get European football, it's going to change the sorts of targets that we can attract. Do not forget that we are a club run fiscally by KSE to not only be self-sustaining, but to be a break-even club. So we have to generate our own sales. And not only do we have now a weak squad where we've run out of high-level prospects who we can sell for large money, we don't have Gareth Bales. We don't have Coutinho's. These are teams that were rebuilt on the sales of high-level assets and then reinvested at the right time. The only asset we had was Aubameyang, who probably would have gone for 74, 75 million had we sold him in the summer. But we didn't sell him. Instead, we let another player go into the last year of his contract.
No, but you know, that's why I'm saying that you don't need to pay over the odds if you can convince Aubameyang to stay. And the way you convince Aubameyang to stay is by paying him above the odds, which is what you said, your calculation of 46 million. I don't agree with that addition of 40 million because that is just opportunity cost. That's not sunken money because we never had the money in the first place.
But we already paid 50. We already paid 56 million for him, so that money is already gone. That money is already out the door.
Correct, but
so it's a 15 million pound loss gone. Even if we lose him for 40.
I would say that he's not a 20 goal striker. He's easily a 30-35 goal striker.
When has he scored 35? When has he scored 35? What do you base this on?
He was consistently scoring over 30 goals for Dortmund. Season. He was consistent.
If he's not doing it right now, Rowan, if he's not doing it right
out wide on
the goals are out wide in the goals are out wide in modern football. Look at the Golden Boot last season. Which central striker got the Golden Boot? So it was Mane played out wide, Salah played out wide, Aubameyang played out wide because modern football. Why do you think Arteta won't play Aubameyang through the middle? Because the modern centre forward, it's not as luxurious as it once was. The space is out wide. It's where the gaps are in the line. It's where the goals are for top strikers, right? It's the way the Premier League is based.
That's not the case always because Lewandowski does not play out wide.
Lewandowski is playing in a league where they basically shit on 2/3 of the who are in their league. They play 4 games or 5 games per year where they actually have to get up and work hard.
They come to London and shit on teams who are above us.
Yes,
consistently. He plays with a broken foot and he shits on teams who are above us, whose praises we sing how they tactically dominate us, but he with a broken foot scores 1 and assists 2. They scored 7 past Tottenham, who are better than us because they are above us, right? Like, that is the point. The point is that Aubameyang, we need to play to his strength. We don't need to consolidate and or spend money at this moment in the forward areas. Martinelli, Saka on the left, Pepe is on the right. Play him in the center. He will score goals. That is where he was scoring the goals for Dortmund. Things have not changed so dramatically. Aguero is still the highest scorer. No,
in a different system, in a different league. You're comparing oranges and pears, Rowan. You're not comparing oranges with orange.
You're talking in the same way, like how people said that you can't play the Barcelona way in the Premier League, which City did. The league does not dictate. It is you who can dictate the league. And Aubameyang is a player who can dictate the league, who can score those goals. He is a player who now we need to conserve the energy. I don't want to see him in our corner flag playing 1-2s with our centre backs. I want him to conserve his energy right now that he's on the wrong side of 30. He needs to start conserving his energy, making those smart runs, scoring goals, and he will score over 30 goals a season, no doubt. He is scoring 20 odd goals now for a shit team, where we're not doing anything. We don't have any creativity, and he's scoring so many goals.
But Rowan, I don't disagree with you. I said at the start that to replace his goals will cost more than what we will get back for him. So the question is more about whether or not you do what we have done with Ozil, where you create a system where you have one player on nearly double the amount of wages to the next players in the team, creating a system that isn't self-sufficient, creating a system where you have a player earning £350,000 per week who's 31, who you're going to have to offer a 3-year contract to. And regardless, anyway, he's got to want to sign for us, Rowan. He's got to look at Arsenal and say, I want to sign for this club. And the only things he could sit there and say he wants to sign for us now is because he likes London and he likes hanging out with his mate Lacazette. That's it. That's what we offer Aubameyang at the moment. I think it will be a moot point at the end of the season, regardless.
Right, guys, just hold it for a second. I want to get Glenn's opinion on Aubameyang. What do you think about Aubameyang? Do you think we should do everything within our power to keep him, or do you think he's probably already going to make up his mind that he wants Champions League action?
First, you should have a show for Max versus Raw, and I'd definitely pay £600 to watch that. For Aubameyang, I'm really hoping Arteta can do everything to convince our better players to stay. That is the only thing I'm leaning on to right now. I know we can't offer Champions League football. Maybe we can. I know we can't offer Europa League football. I know we won't convince him by the players playing around him, but I'm just hoping Arteta can convince most of our players to stay. Of course, bringing in new players who are like on top there, it's going to be difficult. So we really need to keep our best players. As Max has said, we need to get those players, those gems like Martinelli right now, because we are far off right now. Myself, I wouldn't want to play for Arsenal right now, and I'm an Arsenal fan, so it's all about players to stay.
IG, did you want to chip in quickly before we move on to the next and the final segment?
I would just want to lighten the mood, because when Max and Rohan were actually making their points, Glenn actually was drinking water. I mean, why? You spoke the least. Why? What were you marinating?
I was taking a breather for them.
Guys, let me quickly go back into the chat for the last time. Let's have a look here. Stan the Man, or Stan the Geezer, like I like to call him. We are a mid-table side that pays Champions League wages. That can't be sustained. Some will say that Max is being harsh, but home truths can be a bitter pill to swallow. And then I've got Apollo from 101 on Arsenal. He says a good point about Pepe. I can't remember. What was that point we were talking about? He's gone. And yeah, Mube's back again. New guy holding his own. Alba gets 30 goals easy playing up front, same as Aguero and Kane. But when was the last time Aubameyang scored 30 goals?
I think it was 36 goals for Borussia Dortmund. He was the highest goal scorer in the Bundesliga. But he couldn't actually cross Gerd Müller, who has 39 goals, maybe.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
that the only person who crossed that target was Messi when he scored like over 70 odd goals or 80 goals, something ridiculous like that.
91.
So,
91.
but he's correct. But he has consistently won the Golden Boot over Lewandowski. And why can't he do it here? If Lewandowski comes here, are you going to say that he's going to be a flop as well?
It could be, because I think in Bundesliga, if you see, the topmost teams are Borussia Mönchengladbach. I think this is the only season where we've seen the title race being so intense, because it's always about Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich, but it's now Schalke. They've dipped down. It's Borussia Mönchengladbach, RB Leipzig, and then there's Dortmund, who are actually trying to catch up. But since Hansi Flick actually has come in, Bayern Munich are looking so good. But there are no other competitions. But here, you can see Chelsea winning against a top team but losing against a mid-table or a lower table team. You see Liverpool losing 3-0 to Watford. Who would have thought? We were all jumping with joy when we knew that we were the only invincibles. They would have bettered our record. But you see, the Premier League is difficult.
Which proves but they consistently come and beat Premier League teams. Over the last years, they have beaten us by a cricket score multiple times. The only time that they lost was last year when Liverpool were on crazy form, and Liverpool were the best team going in. But they've consistently played, even in that Champions League final, again going back to the past like I do, but they dominated Chelsea. No Chelsea fans will agree they got away with one. They have consistently dominated it. We need to get over the mentality that it's a farmers league in Germany, it's a farmers league in France. It's the Champions League. Our best teams are playing, the table doesn't lie, our teams are going against their teams, and our teams get belted consistently.
So you are comparing the fact. No, I would really like to destroy Rohan's point, if you can give me a chance, because if you're going to compare a team that has come to England, and what, this is going to be their fourth game in England, and the other teams who play 38 games in a whole season in England. I mean, come on, you're joking, right? I mean, they scored 7 past Tottenham because Tottenham were SHIT. If you give that much amount of space to Gnabry, he's gonna pick up his Rolls Royce.
But the table doesn't lie, right? The table doesn't lie. Tottenham is above us, so hence Tottenham is better than us currently. Right?
If we played Bayern, I would be surprised if we didn't ship 10 goals. Like imagine if we came up against Bayern at the moment, we would be destroyed.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They destroy most teams.
I'd like to know the shot conversion rate of the Aubameyang, because I feel he can score 50 goals, but he misses a ton of goals. I mean, he had like chances. Olympiacos, not saying Aubameyang, but I'm saying he could score 36 goals. It doesn't matter whether it's center, striker, on the wing, but I think they miss a lot of chances.
Guys, before I go back into the chat, sorry, Ajay, I just want to quickly say something. I did promise we'll do a short show, and we're gone over an hour. So as long as you guys are happy to continue for the next 5 minutes, I'm happy to continue, because I'm trying to be more mindful that I know you guys are like in the morning, late at night. So
all good, mate. I've got another 5 minutes. Go for it.
Yeah, I actually just want to finish it out, because Glenn right now mentioned Aubameyang scoring 50 goals. I really want to know what was in that bottle.
No, for real, if you look at the amount of chances he misses, by what Max and Ron was saying about Ron saying he should play as a center striker, and Max said if he plays on the wing, it doesn't matter. So I was saying actually it doesn't matter if he plays on the wing, because I think he gets a lot of chances to score those 36 goals you guys are talking about.
Right, quickly, I'm going to go back into the chat and we'll go to the last segment, and then we're going to finish it off. Standerman says, Max makes very good points about strikers playing from the wing. As he said, the game is changing. Apollo says, it's not about us keeping them. He should definitely move on because, quite frankly, he deserves better. Stan, Henry played as a hybrid winger stroke striker. Walcott played as a false 9-2. And then the 6 says, a mistake to appoint Emery. Raul came from Barcelona, where the top 2 teams are guaranteed Champions League football, no matter how bad they are. Must have thought it would be easy to get back into. Maybe we'll probably make this one the last one. Bangman scored 39 goals in 2015 and 40 goals in 2016. Guys, this is business of Premier League action. We're playing against the Hammers tomorrow or today in case of Max. Can I get a prediction from yourself, Glenn?
The last few games we've played, actually not few, last 10 seasons, 15 seasons, West Ham have only managed 1 win at our place and I think a couple at their place. So I'm confident in this game. Again, it actually depends on who we start and where we start them. If we end up, the midfield needs to be strong. I think, I don't know who you guys would prefer, Shaka or Shaka Ceballos, but my prediction would be Arsenal 3, West Ham 1, depending on who plays and where.
Okay. Rohan, prediction?
Yeah, I think we should be able to win this. We're playing at home. West Ham is managed by David Moyes. He doesn't have a great record. Unless we pull an Arsenal, we should, see a win there. I'm hoping for a 3-1 win, same as the reverse fixture. I hope that we have a better performance than the reverse fixture where we went down and then we scored quick fire goals, once we did start scoring. So yeah, I think we can win 3-1. I think this can be the resurgence to our top 4 and maybe go on to the title next season, right?
Okay. Max, prediction?
2-0 to the Arsenal. I don't see a huge amount of threat coming from West Ham. They're not in great form. I think as far as an 11 goes, unfortunately, I think you'll just see almost a carbon copy of what we've seen as far as Arteta's, top 11 or first 11. I think you'll see Nketiah play. I think he's earned that. I think Lacazette will definitely go to the bench. Ideally, for me, I would like to see a team without Ozil, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So onwards and upwards. Mustafi Luiz, back to. I don't think you'll see a Pablo Mari.
Okay. And finally, IG, predictions for tomorrow.
Well, I think the only reason why in this game I don't want to see a Mustafi Luiz partnership because I'm afraid of Mikel Antonio because I think he wreaked havoc against Southampton. So 3-1 victory, I think they would be high on that. So I think Arsenal would win this, but I think we can keep a clean sheet on this if we are much more compact enough. So 3-0 for me.
Okay. Listen, guys, I'm going to call this feature-length version of the Easytalk to an end. But before I do, I want to thank my panel. Rohan, I felt like it was a baptism of fire coming on the first Easytalk. Thank you very much, Rohan.
No, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure talking to Arsenal buddies, right? Like at the end of it, we all have the best interest of Arsenal at heart, and these are all opinions, and we have to test it out against the best who are here.
Healthy debate, Rowan. Healthy debate. That's what it's all about.
Appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
Yep. Absolutely. And Glenn, new improved Glenn, thank you for coming back on the Easytalk.
Thanks for having me again. And I know you asked whether I've met Max at the start of the show. Now I have really met him. I've done a show with Rowan before and I've met him again. So good debate.
Max, as always, it's always a pleasure to have you back on the Easytalk. And thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, mate. If anyone watching right now wants to pop over to the Ask Bros, we're about to go live straight after this. So we're at Ask Bros Rant on Facebook, and I think tonight we're doing a hot topic And I think the topic is, have Arsenal fallen so far that poking fun at other teams' failures is our new victory?
That's I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go over there and have a look. And last but not least, IG.
Well, always a pleasure. I think it was really a healthy debate, but I don't know if Arsenal have actually fallen down, but definitely Arsenal fans don't know how far they've gone.
There you go. Listen, I feel exhausted. Thank God it's Friday. No work tomorrow. If you've been wondering who or what you've been watching Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans, literally all over this world.